There's no one right way of doing a CV, but there's some very wrong ways of doing a CV. And I'm going to talk you through some of the definite no-nos of things that you don't want to include in your CV. To start with, don't title it up with curriculum vitae or CV. It's quite an old-fashioned idea to do that. If anything, the title of your CV is your name, your address, your contact details that will be at the top. So you don't need to include that, or don't include that. The other thing not to include is your marital status, your date of birth, how many children you've got, whether you've got children, your sexuality, all of those things. Clearly people are not allowed to discriminate upon, and it's just not relevant. It's just not relevant. If you were applying for a particular position, for example, if you were applying for a women's refuge and they wanted a woman, they will obviously specify in your application how you can, disclose the information that they need. But generally speaking, employers are not allowed to discriminate on those things, so you don't put it on. The other thing to consider is your email address, the name of your email. So if it doesn't sound very professional, just get a new one. Just get a new one, even if it's just for the purposes of applying for jobs. Just get a brand new one, and it's easy to do. Just go get a new Hotmail address or Yahoo or Gmail, etc. Because you don't want, for example, if your email address is goodtimegirl92, it doesn't really exude professionalism. So just have a little think about it. People also tend to include the year of their birth as well in the email address, which isn't necessarily a problem in itself, but I tend to dissuade people from doing that. You just need your name, just a standard, professional, straightforward email address. The other thing, the most crucial thing I would say, and where people trip up the most, is poor grammar, poor spellings. Even if it's just one misspelt word, it can have a massive impact on the chances of you getting to the next stage of getting an interview. It can really put employers off, because it shows not only that potentially this person can't spell, but that they've not taken the time and the care to read through their application and make sure it's perfect. So if you do struggle with grammar and spellings, always, or even if you don't, still get someone to check it through, because sometimes you can get a bit blind to a document if you've been staring at it for hours. So get someone to check it through and make sure it is word perfect and spelt perfectly. You don't need embellishments. In fact, unless you're applying for a particularly creative position, in which case you will know. But just keep it looking professional. You don't want flowery borders and different colours. You just want to stick to black text and a very professional looking, solid, aesthetically pleasing CV. So it doesn't need to be, it needs to look good and inviting to read, but not to make it pretty with flowers and anything other than just standard text. I tend to include a border, just a solid line, which can look very effective, can make it look pleasant to read, and it still looks professional. The same with funky font styles. I tend to stick to Arial because I think it looks clear and professional. So don't be tempted to jazz it up at all. And you need to, once you have picked a font style, you need to stick to it throughout. It needs to be consistent. And as I say, professionalism is the key here. Also, make sure that the length of it is, it's not too long, it's not too short, and I've done a separate video on that. But the majority of CVs should be 2 pages long, so you don't want it to be too short, too long. You don't want it to be irrelevant or waffly in any way.